Welcome to the Sicha discourse for Likutei Sicha is Chelek Gimel Bamidbar Aleph. As a bacher, I was once in a shul, and somebody asked me that he had heard that the Lubavitcher Rebbe sits and would teach Rashi to the Hasidim on Shabbos afternoon. And I never thought about it that way because we always called it, we knew of it as Fabrengen. But to this Lomde Sheyid, the Rebbe was sitting and teaching Rashi. And in this Sicha, the Rebbe teaches us a Rashi using many of the klolim, of the principles that the Rebbe introduced to the way Rashi is understood, and is mechadish in many different areas in Torah. So a little background, there's a sefer called Sefer Klolei Rashi, Principles of Rashi, which are gathered from the Sichos of the Rebbe, of how the Rebbe interpreted and taught us principles in learning and understanding Rashi. And they use this Sicha as an example where 9 principles of Rashi and of understanding Rashi are used. In this Sicha, the Rebbe is mechadish in Rashi's approach to diktuk or to etymology. In the Ha'aris, the Rebbe explains a question on the Tanya, which is brought in Beis Rabbi. The Rebbe is mechadish a chidush in halacha and teaches us Rashi's approach into the pshutei shel mikra of halacha. So it's really one of those sichas that take apart a Rashi and recreate and understand based on the principles, provide us a depth in a Rashi that we could have just read just like that. Let's go back to the beginning. This is in the Parshas Bamidbar, in Perek Beis. And at the end of Perek Aleph, and there's a source sheet, if you're following along, it talks about how the Yidden are to camp. So, in the beginning it says, V'chonu b'nei Yisrael, ish al machaneu, v'ish al diglei l'tziv oisam. B'nei Yisrael should encamp each troop by troop, each man with his division and under his standard, under his degel. The Yidden are to camp in a certain way. The pasuk continues, and the Leviim, v'aleviim yachanu saviv l'mishkan ha'edus. The Leviim should camp around the Mishkan. V'lo yeh ketzef al adas b'nei Yisrael, so there not be a ketzef and anger or wrath of b'nei Yisrael. V'shamru al Leviim es mishmanes mishkan ha'edus, and the Leviim shall guard the Mishkan ha'edus. So that's the background is we're instructed to camp in a certain way, and the Leviim are going to camp around the Mishkan Eidos. Bamidbar Perek Beis, Pasuk Beis. So Hashem tells Moshe, Ish al digloi ba'oisais leveis avaisam, yachanu b'nei Yisrael mineged saviv l'oyel mayed yachanu. Ish al digloi, every man in his degel, with his flag standard, lebeis avaisam, to his father's home. Yachanu b'nei Yisrael should camp. And here's the key words what we're going to examine is mineged saviv le'omed yachanu. They shall camp mineged around the Oyel Moed. Now we have a Rashi, a 4-part Rashi. Says Rashi, if you have the handout, you'll see Rashi mineged. Says Rashi, meirachik, from a distance. Mineged means from a distance. How far is the distance? So Rashi adds mil. The distance is a mil, 2,000 amas. Why is the distance 2,000 amas? From where do we know that? So k'moi shenemar b'Yehoshua, as it says by Yehoshua, right before the Jewish people are crossing into the Yarden, over the Yarden into Eretz Yisrael. So Yeshua sent messengers in the camps to tell them that the Aron will go in front of them. And it says over there, Ach rochek yia beinechem ubeinav, that the Aron will travel in front of Bnei Yisrael. And Yeshua says, how far should be maintain a distance between the Aron, which is in the front, and Bnei Yisrael? Kalpayim amma, 2,000 amas. Why a distance of 2,000? What's the number 2,000? Sheyuchlu lave b'Shabbos, because there, by Yeshua, they had to come on Shabbos. And also over here, Rashi is telling us that in order for the Yidden to be able to come on Shabbos to the Mishkan or to Moshe and Aaron, they had to have a distance of Alpayim Am of 2,000 mil, because, as we know, there's a concept called Tchum Shabbos. A person is not supposed to leave their Tchum, their boundary, which the Chachamim gave us a 2,000 mil boundary that we should not leave on Shabbos. So in order we should come on Shabbos, so the distance between the closest of Bnei Yisrael and the Oyel Mayad was 2,000 Amos. And Rashi adds, Moshe v'Aaron ubanov v'halaviyim. Moshe, Aaron, his children, and all of the Levim, choinim b'samach like, encamped next to it, next to the Mishkan. So here we have a 4-part Rashi on one word, Mineged. 4 parts. So how far? Mineged, says Rashi, Mineged means from a distance of a mil. Why from a distance of a mil? Part number 2, because we learned that from Yehoshua, how far the Aron traveled ahead. Part number 3, why this particular distance of the mil? Because we should be able to come on Shabbos. And part number 4 is that Moshe, Aaron, and his children camped right near the Mishkan. Okay. So here's the thing. Let's give a little bit of background. This word Mineged is not a surprise. It's not the first time that Mineged appears in the Torah. As a matter of fact, if you have the source sheet, the word Mineged appears, first of all, or one of the times in Parshas Kisavai, in the Klolos, it says, V'hayu chayecha teluyim lecha mineged. Your life will be hanging before you. We have already the first time in Parshas Vayera, when Sarah has and asks Avram to chase away Hagar, and subsequently Hagar is chased away with Yishmael. Yishmael becomes thirsty and he's dying of thirst. So it says, Vatelech vateshav lo mineged. So Hagar went and she sat mineged from a distance. When Moshe Rabbeinu was going to pass away, in Parshas Ha'azinu, the Eibishter tells him, Ki mineged tiras haaretz. From a distance you should see the land. V'sham alei saveh, but you won't come over there. So the word mineged is not a surprise word in the Torah. It appears a number of different times. And yet, Rashi over here chooses to start interpreting what does the word mineged mean? How far is the mineged? Elsewhere, Rashi, the word mineged just kind of goes, mineged, from a distance, or maybe it means, just opposite, and so on. So the Rebbe asks 5 questions on this 4-part Rashi. Number 1, why all the explanation of mineged? We find already, or elsewhere in Parshas Kisave, it says mineged. Rashi doesn't tell us what it means. Number 2 is that this Rashi is here to explain the Pshutei Shamika, just to understand the Psukim. So why does Rashi start telling us mineged? It means from a distance. How far is the distance? The distance is a mil. Why is that important? Elsewhere, Rashi doesn't tell us how far mineged means. It means maybe from a distance. Or it means. Number 3 is at the end of Rashi adds a line, Moshe, Aaron, and his children and the Levim camped nearby. Why that line? Why is that relevant? What's the flow in this Rashi? Number 4, Rashi says that the distance was a mil in order that they should be able to come on Shabbos. As if you would think that the distance should be many milim, but since they had to come on Shabbos, it was a mil. Why should it be far? Number 5 is that when Rashi says Moshe, Aaron, his children, and the Leviim, why do I should say Moshe, Aaron, and the Leviim? Just say the Leviim camped around the Mishkan. So we have 5 questions on this 4-part Rashi, but we're going to extrapolate and we're going to really get into this Rashi and learn many, many deep ideas from it. Let's start from the beginning. Like we said, the word Mineged appears a few times in the Torah. But the truth is that the word Mineged, the Rebbe tells us, is the same, and it's another form of the word Neged. The word Neged appears, the concordance brings in the Ha'arada quotes 7 times, at least 7 times, and different functions. The word Neged, it means before, in front of, opposite, or the like. The word Mineged is a form of the word Neged. So the Rebbe says that the word Neged and Mineged are actually the very same word, and the mem is adding it adds to the word, just like sometimes you'll have a lamed as a prefix or a kaf as a prefix, and here you have a mem as Mineged is a prefix to the word. But the key word here is neged, which is a word that appears all over the place. And it's a very common word, which means before, in front of, opposite. This is, by the way, a chiddush or an understanding that the Rebbe brings in Rashi. Others learn that the word neged and mineged have different meanings. Mineged means from a distance, and neged means close. The Rebbe says no. Neged, mineged, it's all the same word. However, there are times that the word neged, which means before, in front of, opposite, can mean more than that. There can be a specific connotation, a specific meaning to the word neged. Classic example, right? We know that when the Eibishter creates Chava, so he says about Adam, I'll make Ezer Kinegde, I'll make a helpmate Kinegde opposite him. So Rashi says that Zocha, if he merits, will be an Ezer, his wife will help him. But Lo Zocha, but if he doesn't merit, Kinegdoi lihilachem, she will stand before him for war. She will stand before him to battle with him. Why? Because the word kinegdoi is an extra word over here. If, in other words, there has to be more to the word kinegdoi. The word is ezer. Esle ezer. What's make him a help? Kinegdoi before him, opposite him. Must be that it's telling us that she can be opposing him. So there's more in the word kinegdoi. When the Yidden are camped around Har Sinai, it says Vayachanu Yisrael neged Hahar. Neged Hahar in front of the mountain. Rashi tells us that there the word neged means to the east of the mountain, and again because the word neged, if it's not it can just mean before the mountain, there has to be a little bit more that the Torah is telling us than they camped before the mountain. The Torah is trying to tell us where they camped. So Rashi says, in this particular case, the word neged will mean mizrach, and neged can mean mizrach. By Hagar, So it says, Vateshav lo mineged. She went and she sat mineged. And there the Torah actually tells us, Harchek kimtacha vekeshes. She sat far as 2 bow shots away. So Rashi tells us the word mineged there means not right in front of him, but mineged there means merochek, before him from a distance. So now this is what prompts Rashi here to tell us that the word mineged is not just a word of opposite or before, it has to mean something else. It has to mean from a distance. Because, again, the pasuk tells us that the Yidden are to camp. Says the pasuk, mineged saviv lo omed yachanu. They should camp mineged before, around the oil moed. Now, if it's just around the oil moed, so first of all, we know from 2 psukim earlier that the Leviim camp just around the oil moed. So the Yidden can't just be camping around the oil moed. So they're mineged saviv lo omed. What's mineged? So mineged here means meirochek. They're camping from a distance from the oil moed. And so this first chiddush and this first takeaway is that there are apparent Rashis where Rashi explains the word, doesn't explain the word. In one place he explains mineged, another place he doesn't explain kineged, mineged. So the Rabbi is showing us a precision in Rashi, that there is a word called neged, in front of, before, opposite. That's a very commonly used word. There are times that word indicates something more because of a context. Like in this case, because the context is that the Levim were around, so the Yidden can't just be around, they're mineged around. So the mineged means meirochek. And this creates a consistency across many Rashis and Chumash where the word is interpreted, not interpreted, we're consistent. If there's more to the word, if the context tells us that we have to give more, we'll add more. But if there isn't, we leave it alone. Mineged, we know what it means. Neged, opposite, in front of, and so on. That is Chiddush number 1. However, Rashi now starts to elaborate how much is the mineged. How much? How far? How far? So, why does Rashi have to start telling us how far? Far. Well, the Rabbi tells us because, like we said, the Leviim were immediately around the oil moed. The Yidden were a little further. So even if the pasuk didn't say mineged from a distance, the Yidden would already be outside of the buffer, beyond the Leviim. Nevertheless, the Torah says mineged from a distance of it. So the distance is adding distance. So now we already have to see, we're adding distance. If we're adding distance, how far are we adding? So why there's distance, we can understand, because the Torah had already told us that the Leviim should camp around so that the Eibishter shouldn't become upset at the Yidden, shouldn't be a ketz, there shouldn't be anger at the Yidden by them inadvertently, casually coming into the oil moed, doing the avodah. That can create a ketzef. So in order to not inadvertently come, so it says mineged, the Yidden should be far. They shouldn't just be beyond the Leviim, they should actually be far. How far? What's the... So Rashi tells us that we look to Yehoshua, where by Yehoshua there also had to be a distance between the Bnei Yisrael and the Aron, but in order that the Yidden should be able to come to the Aron on Shabbos, the distance would be an alpayim amma. We can apply the same rationale here, that the distance should be an alpayim amma in order that the Yidden come on Shabbos. So now we've explained Chiddush number 2. We've explained why Rashi tells us the distance, because there had been a buffer anyway. and the word Mineged must be adding more. And the word Mineged has to be understood. It can't just be far. So we create some contents. How distant is it? The distance that we find by Yehoshua, and that distance is Tchum Shabbos, that the Yidden should be able to come on Shabbos, and here also the Yidden should be able to come on Shabbos. Point number 2, explaining why Rashi gives us the distance and where Rashi gets the hechrich, the need to explain that from. But here the Rebbe now is mechadish in halacha and is mechadish in the pshutei shel mikra of halacha. What's the chiddush in halacha? So the Rebbe says that in truth, even if the Yidden, the Machne Yisrael, would have been further away from the Oyel Moed, beyond 2,000 Amos, the Yidden would have been able to come on Shabbos. Why? Since Machne Yisrael was all around the Oyel Moed from all 4 sides, so the whole Machane Yisrael was ki'ir achas, was like one city, which the Gemara tells us that it's like one city. And Rashi tells us that you can, therefore, cross the halacha is that in one city, you can walk a whole city on Shabbos and it only counts like it's 4 amas. So even if had there been a great space, a great openness between the Yidden and the Umayyad, since the Machane Yisrael is all around it from all sides, so there would be no problem of Tchum Shabbos crossing that space and going to the Oyel Moed, because it's part of the city, and within a city, there's no Tchum Shabbos. Now, appreciate that this halacha is not clearly mentioned in the Gemara or Poiskin, and here the Rebbe says it teaches this to us, that within a city, no matter how large the space, the opening in the city is, as long as it's surrounded from all sides, it's in the city, the Yidden or a person can cross over that, and there's no problem of Tchum Shabbos. Now back to our Sicha. If that's the case, so there was no problem of Tchum Shabbos for the Yidden to come to Moshe, to come to the Oyel Moed on Shabbos, even if it would have been further than Alpayim Amah, than 2,000 Amos. Because, like we said, it's all in the city. And in the city, there's no Tchum Shabbos. Which brings us back to our question of, so how does Rashi know that the Yidden camped at a distance of 2,000 Amos? Shabbos didn't necessarily require it. For Shabbos, it could have been as far as it was. They were in the city. The Oyel Moed was in the center of the city. So here is another chiddush of this Sicha. Another chiddush. And a important klal, a Rashi klal, a fundamental approach to Rashi, a rule about Rashi that the Rebbe teaches us here, and I want to read it inside because it speaks for itself and it's very important. The Rebbe says, we've already spoken many times, that the Rashi b'Pirusha al HaTorah mefarish haksuvim rak al derech hapshat. Rashi al HaTorah just explains the psukim only al derech hapshat. Rashi doesn't quote the halacha, which are learned from Remez or from Drush. Now, says the Rebbe, the gam kishemevi halacha b'siyames, hareza mibnei shemuchrachu b'pshutei shemikra. If Rashi does quote a halacha, the reason he quotes the halacha is because pshutei shemikra requires that this be the halacha. In other words, a halacha that's learned out from a remez or from a drush, Rashi doesn't talk about it. Rashi's here to talk about pshutei shemikra. If Rashi quotes a halacha, it's because that pshutei shemikra tells us that that's the halacha. And So that's a klal in Rashi. Rashi only quotes halachas that are mukhrach, that are required, and that Pshutei Shel Mikra teaches us. Now, another layer to this klal. V'oidzos, in addition, protei ha'halachos k'fi she'em al derech ha'pshat ein hechrech sheyat'imu l'k'fi she'em b'chelek ha'halacha shel b'Torah. A new approach to Rashi. There is the Pshutei Shel Mikra of halacha, which may not, and we need not be in synonymous or be in complete synchronization or be the same with the halacha, the way it's in halacha of Torah. In other words, in Pshutei Shel Mikra, the simple Mikra, the pshat, or I should say the halacha could be one way, and in halacha, the halacha could be another way. So here is a klal, a Rashi klal. The Rebbe teaches us that when you learn a Rashi, you should know if he brings the halacha, it's only because the halacha is required according to Pshutei Shel Mikra. A. And B. And know that the halacha, the way it exists in Pshutei Shel Mikra, the way the halacha exists from the psukim, the way the psukim teaches the halacha, may not be the way the halacha is actually in halacha. Because in halacha, we also have drush, we also have ramas. So, now come back to Rashi over here. Another very interesting idea. This halacha of Tchum Shabbos, according to Rashi, is a halacha that is alluded to, and that the Pshutei Shel Mikra, the Psukim themselves, discuss this halacha. Where? If you look at the handout, look at the quote where it says source for Tchum Shabbos. So, the Rebbe says, "Uki Hashem nasan lachem haShabbos." This is about where it talks about the man. See that Hashem is giving you the Shabbos. Alkeinu nasan lachem b'yom hashlishi yachem b'yomoyim. Therefore, on Friday, He's giving you bread for 2 days. Shvu ishtachtav vayetzi ish mimkoyim b'yom hashvi'i. Let every person shvu ishtachtav. Let every person sit in their place. Don't al yetzi ish mimkoyim b'yom hashvi'i. On the Shabbos, don't go out of your space. Says Rashi, al yetzi ish mimkoyim. He says Rashi, you have it in the handout. Eilu al payim amos shel tchum Shabbos. Here is where the Torah is teaching us that we have on Shabbos a tchum, we have 2,000 amos that we're supposed to stay on Shabbos, stay within on Shabbos. Now the Rashi concludes that he says, V'lei b'mefurish, shein tchumin el medivrei seifim, it's only midrabanan. But the Rabbi deals with this in the Ha'ara. But the fact is that Rashi learns that the pasuk al yetzi ish mimkoyim, don't go out of your place, simply means Tchum Shabbos is included in that. In other words, the Torah itself talks very clearly about Tchum Shabbos, and Rashi even tells us about this mitzvah of Tchum Shabbos. So again, Tchum Shabbos is a Pshutei Shel Mikra halacha, and therefore Rashi talks about it. Pshut means simply the pasuk addresses Tchum Shabbos. Now remember, the Rebbe said that the halacha, the way it's in halacha, need not be the exact same as the halacha, the way it's in Pshutei Shel Mikra. So the Rebbe says here, listen, in halacha, a city that surrounds a big empty area, the whole area is the city. It has the din of a city. It has the chalois of a city. And therefore, you can cross in and out of that area and across that area, and it's not a problem. That's in halacha. But in Pshutei Shel Mikra, a simple reading of the words Al Yetze Ish Mimikoyme, don't go out of your space, it would be difficult to say that if there's a large area in a city, an empty area within the city, surrounded by the city, that going into that space would not be part of the violation of Al Yetze Ish Mimikoyme. So therefore, the Rebbe says that Rashi's in Pshutei Shel Mikra, in Pshutei Shel Mikra, there would be a problem of Tchum Shabbos within the camp of Bnei Yisrael, surrounded by the camp. And in Pshutei Shel Mikra, it would have been a problem to go more than 2,000 amis from the edge of Machane Yisrael to the Oil Moed. So therefore, in Pshutei Shel Mikra, Rashi says, must be that how far is this Mineged that we're talking about? This Mineged is Richuk Mil, so they should come on Shabbos like we find by Yeshua. He asked me a question. But what about the Levium? In other words, what's your hechrech? What forces you to say that the edge of the camp of Machane Yisrael was 2,000 amas from the Mishkan, but there was a buffer, there was the Levium in between. And if the problem is Tchum Shabbos, so we can go 2,000 amas from the Levium. We need not count the 2,000 amas from the Mishkan itself. So therefore, Rashi says, true, the Levium camped all around. But Moshe, Aaron, and his children, they camped. And the Pasuk tells us in this context that on the eastern side, on the Mizrach side, it was only Moshe, Aaron, and his children. So a very, very small, minute amount of campers there, which wouldn't push the Tchum Shabbos out much. And therefore, we go with the meal from the Oil Moed was a meal. So here we have a word Mineged, and a Rashi which is explaining us why B'chlal we need it, because we know that the Yidden are already beyond the Levium's camp. So Mineged must be telling us that they're further beyond the camp. But if it's further, then the Torah must indicate somewhere. We have to know how far. How far must be a mil. Why a mil? Because Tchum Shabbos, according to Rashi, according to Pshutei Shel Mikra, according to the simple understanding of the pasuk, the way Tchum Shabbos is, this is we're going to go a Tchum Shabbos beyond the Oil Moed. So we've applied like we said, 9 klalim. We've learned some new klalim, new approaches to Rashi, or new rules of interpreting Rashi, and extrapolated halachic discussions, and both in halacha itself, the Rabbi told us, and also in the Pshutei Shel Mikra of aspect of halacha, many different aspects, all from this one Mineged Rashi, which if not this Sicha, we could have just learned it, not really understanding what Rashi's saying, and Rashi's being a little inconsistent. Some places he explains, some places he doesn't explain. Our story with Yeshua, myself, Mashad Levium. But here everything is in a flow to teach us why the one word Mineged. What is the Torah telling us Mineged? Rashi says the word Mineged is telling us keep a distance, because you don't want to come too close, chas v'sholom. Shouldn't be a katzef. But also, how far is a distance? We know that from Yeshua. And why is that distance there? In order that we should come on Shabbos. And the fact that the Levium are in the middle, that doesn't really help for Shabbos, because, like we said, on one side it was only Moshe and Levium, only a few people, which doesn't push out the Tchum much. This is a beautiful lesson the Rabbi teaches us. A Yid, where did a Yid camp? A Yid camped Kedei sheyuchal lavei b'Shabbos, in order that he be able to access the Mishkan on Shabbos. Everything the Yid did the entire week, his home, his entire life, was in proximity in order to be able to reach the Mishkan on Shabbos. Sometimes we can think there's 2 modes of operation. We have our Kedusha mode. We have even our B'chol Derechecha De'eu mode, the moments that we're in the service of Hashem. And then we have our detached modes. Far away, far away. So we see over here that the Shabbos mode of the Yid, the Shabbos access to the Beis Hamikdash, determines his entire life. Everything that he does is in the context and in the reach and is affected by the Shabbos and the Shabbos ability to come to the Mishkan. The Mishkan, of course, symbolizes the Avodah, the Vashachanti B'soicham, bringing Hashem into our midst, the Karbones. And so this deep and meaningful Avodah, the Mishkan Avodah, and the Mishkan on Shabbos, the holy Mishkan, that creates boundaries, and that creates the boundaries, the entire context of our life. Everything we do is all in the proximity of coming to the Mishkan on Shabbos.